Hello, everybody. So, psychomotivation. In yesterday's meeting, I had a great question. And the more I thought about the question last night, and then I took a look at our book, Who Am I, this morning, and I said, not only does that question that was asked, not only was that a great question, but it deserves even more of an answer than perhaps was anticipated. So I wanted to talk about the book briefly. I know I gave a lecture on the book, but that was largely maybe on how the book was made, kind of as a selling point to someone who's empirically oriented. But I want to introduce you to maybe different ways to approach the book or move through the book. And the purpose really is twofold of this book, I see, maybe threefold. That is becoming mindful, and you see the endorsement of Ellen Langer in the back of the book, as a key to mindfulness. But to understand more about ourselves, that would be one. To engage in the process of self-improvement, that would be two. And three, to kind of bolster our uniqueness. So there's a couple things that I wanted to point you towards in the book, right? As Reese puts it, this book can help you. And it says right here, understand how you to react to others and how others react to you, and provides new insights into romantic interests, right, careers, and spirituality. And I think that's a sweet spot for you guys, given your age and given your stage of development. So how to read this book, right? Part 1 explains the system of 16 basic desires. And Reese is translating these basic desires into motivations, and that is why, in fact, I selected this book for this class, right? So that is really kind of the purpose. And what we need to then understand about the book that will really help us is the difference between feel-good happiness and value-based happiness. And that really is explained in Chapter 7. But if you look at the introduction, you've got the section on how to read the book, and it takes you chapter through chapter, basically summarizing the chapter and letting you know what's available to you in that chapter. Now, when we get to the Chapter 5, one size fits all, I think this is really individuating, differentiating, because as Reese put it, and I bypassed this point, and in looking at it again this morning, it kind of struck me and amazed me. What you've done in the last 3 chapters is figure out what's most important to you and your significant others, right? And as you move through here, this is called a desired profile. And if you look at the 16 basic desires, right, those 16 basic desires can, according to Reese, generate 43 million different, overall types, if you will. And that's kind of fascinating, and certainly that's individuating. Bless you, Penelope. So she's sneezing away there. Now, a couple other things. Many of the questions that I've asked, that I've offered for you to answer in the assignment are, in fact, kind of taken directly from the book, at least in spirit. So, for example, if we get into I don't get it and neither do you, is really the exploitation of the Peabody plot, and they call it the 16 odd couples. So if you choose that question, notice that it's referenced here in the book. Now, you want to take the test, really need to read probably chapters 1 through 3 before you take the test to get the most value out of the test. And then the test is located in the appendix in its entirety. Now, it's not a typical survey instrument where you see question, 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 right, and nothing. This is a more thoughtful process. So what do you want and why, right? So the first section is power. And what it says, so let's get clear on the instructions. So it says, rate your desire for power is very important if any of the following 3 statements are true. So you read those 3 statements, and as Reese suggests, if any of them are true, then you're going to rate power is very important to you. Now, the next part is rate your desire for power is less important to you if you either feel if either of the following statements is generally true. And then there's 2 statements. So if you endorse any one of these 3, then you got very high need. If you endorse any one of these 2, then you have the less important desire, right? What do you think you're going to score if none of these 5 statements about power really apply to you? well, then that's going to mean that power is of average importance to you. So what he's doing is cool, right? Because he's testing. Hey, these three statements would typically be endorsed by someone who has a high power desire. These two statements, on the other hand, would be typically endorsed by someone who has a low desire for power. If a person endorses none of those five statements, then we can determine that they have essentially an average desire for power. So that's how you move through it. And then you score power, independence, curiosity through the 16 desires, answering those questions. Now, when you get to the end, right, you have the score sheet. So as you're going along, you say power. Oh my God, I endorse statement number 1 there. So power must be very important to me, and I'm going to put a V then next to power, which is very important. And he's got the key right here. Average important is the A, and then less important is the L. And you get to fill out your profile right here in the book. And then you can do it with your partner. You could do it with someone in your family, perhaps your employer if you're brave enough to do that. And then based on that, you can develop your profile. Now, what this all means then is covered in the context of the book and will assist you in answering the question. So I hope this helps a little bit clarify how the book is to be used and how you're to fill it out. Right? So I think it's a fascinating piece of work. Reese's second book, 16 Strivings for God, is something I've not read yet. It's on my list to read, kind of a little bit down the list, but something to consider as well. If you like this, you might want to look for that book. So, from me and some of our dear departed and still continuing souls, you can say adios to Digby, my good buddy who's no longer with us. Mama left us just a month ago, and Desi and Cerebellum are just rocking on, and I thought, hey, it's spring, so let's do a little springtime picture here. We got the windows open, and I love the spring when we finally get to open the windows, and boy, the cats sure love it because they get a little fresh air. So, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope this helps a little bit, and remember, come on down to the sessions, the weekly session, if you have more questions about this. And at this point in time, as we discussed yesterday, this assignment is about 28, 29 days away as far as due date. So when's a good time to get started? Probably like yesterday, right? Because it's some thoughtful work that goes into this. And here's the deal. I believe that you're worth this. And I believe you're worth the effort to put into this to better understand yourself. And I hope that you believe you're worth that effort as well. So I want you guys to have a fantastic day. Ever onward, as my boss Chuck used to say. We got some other lectures to tape today. So anyway, I'll talk to you later.